Hello and welcome to my Black Desert Online Succession Ranger Quick Start PvP guide. In this guide, I'm going to be going over the basic mechanics of the class in order to help people get started PvPing on it as fast as possible. First, we're going to be talking about Blasting Gust, which has both a KD and a super armor on windup when it's off of cooldown. However, you're not going to really be using the windup as much, because it's used mainly for its mobile chip damage by pressing Q, LMB, and a directional key. Now we're going to talk about the two most commonly casted skills off of Blasting Gust, those being Shotgun and Penetrating Wind. Shotgun, or Extreme Charging Wind, is primarily used as a chip damage skill. It's casted by doing a directional Blasting Gust, and then pressing spacebar. It is a frontal guard when it's off cooldown. However, you don't want to get into the bad habit of spamming this skill as a main DPS skill. Penetrating Wind is a little bit more complicated than Shotgun to cast off of Blasting Gust, because you have to F-kick. However, it's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. What you have to do is you have to do a Blasting Gust, and then you press F and then Shift LMB, and then it casts a Penetrating Wind. It has a stun off of cooldown, and a down smash, and also an air attack. So if you land a Blasting Gust, and then if it KDs, while they're in the air, if you hit him with a Penetrating Wind, it hits him in the window that they're still in the air, and it procs a air attack. So a quick example is Blasting Gust, F, and then Shift LMB, and then it casts the Penetrating Wind. Now I'm going to be talking about how to cast a full charged Tearing Arrow. At first, I'm primarily going to be talking about how to cast it off of Bypassing Wind, because this allows you to cast it off of Penetrating Wind. You can cast a Bypassing Wind off of Penetrating Wind by pressing Shift RB right after the Penetrating Wind. So for example, you would do a Blasting Gust, press F, Shift LMB, and then Shift RMB, and then you would do an SE, and then it should cast a full charge Tearing Arrow, do it correctly. So, for example, during Tearing Arrow, you can also cast a Penetrating Wind by pressing Shift RMB mid-shooting. While holding LMB during Tearing Arrow to shoot Tearing Arrow, if you press RMB, you can cast a Bypassing Wind to cast another Tearing Arrow. You can also cast a full charge Tearing Arrow by just pressing SE after skills like EES, Riding the Wind, Twisted Wind, Air Explosion shot, and Evasive landing shot. Do a stationary cast of Tearing Arrow off of Regeneration by just pressing SE. Also do the same off of Razor Wind by pressing E, Shift RB, and SE. So for movement skills, first we're going to talk about Call from the Sky. Call from the Sky is casted by pressing W and RMB. If you hold W RMB, you do a second jump, which the first time you do it is an SA, and it uses the cooldown for Air Explosion shot. But if you do it a second time, well, that's on cooldown, it does an iframe and it puts your ES on cooldown. If you do it again, it's just unprotected. Next, we're going to be talking about EES, or Evasive Explosion shot. And this skill's a little weird because you can use it 2 times continuously for an iframe on both flips. So for example, if you cast it by using A and D to RMB, you can cast 2 different iframes that both linger. The other way that you can cast this skill is by pressing S and RMB, and if you hold RMB, it'll use your Air Explosion shot and do a third hop that's an SA. So for example, next for movement skills, we're going to be talking about Twisted Wind, full SA, and it can be casted by pressing Shift, A, D, or S. For Riding the Wind, there are 2 different ways that you can cast it. Both are SA. The first way I'm going to tell you is by holding Shift, A, and D after a Twisted Wind. It doesn't matter if you do the Twisted Wind backwards or laterally, it's the same skill. The other way that you can cast a Riding the Wind is during skills that you're airborne, like Wind Explosion shot, which is your bomb, by holding A and D and spacebar. This. You can also do it during Call from the Sky and EES. The last movement skill I'm going to be talking about, Evasive landing shot. Be cast after EES, Twisted Wind, Riding the Wind, Or shotgun by pressing Shift RMB. If you hold Shift RMB after it, you can also cast a penetrating wind. So for example, a good way that you can chain together your movement skills is by doing a double EES backwards into an air explosion, twisted wind, riding the wind, and a evasive landing shot like this.